It is a extra special, unexpected, get out of bed and get yourself cleaned up and attach your toupee edition of PFTPM. Almost did it last night. But because the news landed so late on a Friday, 10 o'clock Eastern or thereabouts is when we got the word. Decided to wait until this morning. Who's really going to be consuming video content overnight on a Friday? Which is one of the big points as it relates to the reaction to the decision of the Dallas Cowboys to make Brian Schottenheimer the team's next head coach. The Cowboys are obsessed with attention. The Cowboys believe that their top priority is to make things interesting. And we know this because Jerry Jones, the owner and GM of the team, said it on the witness stand in the Sunday ticket trial from last summer. Talked about how important it is to be interesting, to give people who are trying to make their way through lives full of stress and mundacity, if that's even a word, and I think it is. Been hanging around Sims too long. You're trying to give those folks something that they can pay attention to, that interests them. Winning and losing is one thing. Being interesting is another. And when I read the transcript, I could just see Jerry on the witness stand saying, interesting. They want to be interesting. Well, what's interesting about leaking the name of your next head coach at 10 p.m. Eastern on a Friday night? They're at least aware of how uninteresting this hire is. If they thought this was a splash, they would have dropped the bowling ball in the kiddie pool during Sunday's NFC Championship game between the Commanders and the Eagles. At a minimum, they would have dropped it in the morning so it overtook the news and the analysis and the discussion of the upcoming Eagles-Commanders game. They would have loved to upstage a pair of division rivals. They upstaged Vikings-Rams with the strategic leak that Deion Sanders and Jerry Jones talked. Ooh, they talked. Oh, did you know they talked? Let's talk about how they talked. Because we like people to talk about us, so we'll give you something to talk about. Hey, we talk about that. Don't talk about the game. Don't watch the game. Go to your phones. Go to your laptops. Go to your tablets. Look for news about Jerry Jones talking to Deion Sanders. That's how it goes. So, 5 years ago, when they decided not to bring back Jason Garrett, dropped it during a Seahawks-Eagles playoff game, not on a Friday night at 10 o'clock, and they didn't announce or leak the replacement, Mike McCarthy, on a Friday night at 10 o'clock. See, they know. They know that this isn't interesting. They know that this is embarrassing. They know. And I thought for a second that maybe whatever was leaked to Clarence Hill, that they were in position to hire Schottenheimer, however it was phrased. It wasn't absolute. And I thought maybe it's a trial balloon, unknown to Clarence. But every once in a while, a source will take a liberty with a reporter, especially a reporter that covers a team. And again, that's not a slight on Clarence. It's happened to the best of them. And Clarence does a hell of a job covering the Cowboys beat. But I thought maybe this is let's see what the people say. And the people didn't like it. I know that social media isn't real, but what I saw by way of response, there wasn't the kind of response I'm seeing from Bears fans to the hiring of Ben Johnson. Let's just put it that way. It is a significant contrast once the word came out of Schottenheimer. I had a cousin who's a big Cowboys fan. He says he's done. Now, we'll see if he can do it. It's like disowning a child. It's like turning your back on a family member. And some people can do it. But why deprive yourself of something you love, even if it drives you crazy? And the Cowboys are going to be driving their fans crazy right now. And this is no slight to Brian Schottenheimer. It's hard, though, to talk about this without it sounding like an anti-Brian Schottenheimer thing. But what's he done to position himself to be the coach of any team, much less the Dallas Cowboys? I remember during one of the episodes of Football Night in America, Jason Garrett and I had a little back and forth about how attractive the job is. Well, it's the Dallas Cowboys. Well, why the hell didn't they hire somebody better than Brian Schottenheimer if it's such a coveted job, if it's an attractive job? Troy Aikman was right. But then there's the fact that they didn't really talk to all that many people. I think what happened was, and I'll take it all the way back to square one, which isn't that long ago. Season ends. Mike McCarthy's contract expires 9 days later. They have an exclusive window to negotiate with McCarthy. They declined the Bears' request for permission to interview McCarthy. They were negotiating with McCarthy. Now, at the end of the day, they made it sound like there was no negotiation. Baloney. The negotiation fell apart over the length of the deal. The Cowboys wanted to keep it short. Why? Because they didn't want to owe him money if they fired him, because Jerry Jones is cheap. Jerry Jones has a gigantic multi-$100 million yacht. I can't remember the specific price, so I'm not going to quote it, but it's a lot of money. And he's got massive holdings in oil and gas, and he owns the most valuable sports property in the United States of America, and one of the most valuable sports properties in the world, which he claims he's never going to sell. But he doesn't want to pay someone to not work. That's the one thing he has in common with Mike Brown, his mortal enemy among club oligarch. Mike Brown's cheap, Jerry Jones is cheap. So short-term deal for McCarthy. McCarthy wants a long-term deal. It falls apart. But what about Dak Prescott? The contract given to him last year binds him to the team for several more seasons. He wants continuity. Some thought that continuity would cause them to bring back Kellen Moore, which would be a slightly less uninspired hire than Brian Schottenheimer. He gets his continuity, Dak does, because they're just taking the offensive coordinator he's been working with the past couple of years and bumping him up to head coach. See, they wanted to keep McCarthy. This tells you they wanted to keep McCarthy, but they were too cheap to give him what he wanted. And I hope McCarthy ends up becoming the head coach of the Saints. That would be the delicious twist on the back end of this, that they let McCarthy walk. They bumped up someone less than McCarthy. Now, hey, he could be the next Vince Lombardi. That would be interesting, the kind of interesting that would get Jerry Jones excited. But he doesn't expect him to be, or they wouldn't have announced it at 10 o'clock Eastern time on a Friday night. They would have bigfooted the Super Bowl or the conference championships. I misspoke. I apologize. I just got out of bed. So, I don't know where this goes from here. It makes the Cowboys interesting in an accidental way. I don't know, maybe that's the next level grift here. Hey, let's give them a new chapter to the Ultimate Reality Show's Ultimate Reality Show. Let's make a really shitty hire, and let's see how it goes. I don't know what the end game is here. 1 year, 2 years with Schottenheimer, carry him through however much time they have left with Dak Prescott, and then move on. I'd like to think Jerry Jones, I don't think it. See, we've been operating under the flawed premise that Jerry Jones wants him some glory hole for 13 years now. That's a load of crap. Jerry Jones wants a business that is as profitable as possible. He has his Super Bowl trophies. If you measure success of an NFL franchise based upon winning Super Bowls, 31 of those franchises are failures every single year. And even the greatest run we've seen, 6 for the Patriots in 20 years. That's not a very good batting average. That's 300. I mean, it's okay. But 14 times they didn't win it out of 20. It's about money. Make as much money as you can. Be as interesting as you can. That's what the Cowboys have done well. And that's what Jerry Jones is driven by. And this is about profit because he's assuming the revenue is going to remain the same and he's holding down some of the expenses. I don't know what Brian Schottenheimer's getting paid, but I don't think it's the $13 million a year that I've heard Ben Johnson's getting. And I don't think it's the $12 million a year that I've heard Liam Cohen is getting in Jacksonville. Probably less than half that. Don't know, haven't heard. Probably going to be a closely guarded secret because no one's going to want to know how little Schottenheimer took to be. It's his chance. Look, would you say no to being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? Even you with no coaching experience at any level in any sport? Hey, you want to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? Sure, why the hell not? It all comes back to wanting the job badly enough that you're willing to deal with Jerry Jones running everything from a personnel standpoint, Jerry Jones doing 2 radio spots a week and a post-game media scrum that's going to outdraw your post-game press conference, and 3, treating the place like a museum where you pay to enter and you walk around and you gawk at the players and you get in the way of what they're trying to do. The whole thing's ridiculous. And Cowboys fans are starting to figure it out. That's the problem, Jerry. Can I talk to you? May I call you Jerry? Mr. Jones? That's the problem. Your fans are starting to figure out the grift. I figured it out last year, and I'm ashamed it took me so long to figure it out. You really don't want to win. You just want people to show up at your stadium, pay for tickets, buy overpriced merchandise, stale popcorn. 15-year anniversary of going to AT&T Stadium before it was AT&T Stadium for Super Bowl 45 and paying $15 for a bucket of stale popcorn. I still want my money back, Jerry. All that stuff. Money, money, money. The fans are going to figure it out. The fans, I don't know, will they not show up? Will they stop watching? America's team's already kind of slipping behind the Chiefs, although people are kind of getting sick of the Chiefs. I mean, that's another angle that needs to be addressed at some point. Why are fewer people watching football all of a sudden? Why are the numbers down for the wild card round, the divisional round? There's sense of Chiefs fatigue. I have a feeling Cowboys fatigue is coming. They were the team that you either loved or loved to hate. As they slip into irrelevance, there's going to be less people who love them, and there's going to be less people who use up their bandwidth for hatred on the Cowboys, because the Cowboys are now irrelevant. That's the worst thing you can be. Opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. And if the fans are becoming apathetic, if the haters are becoming apathetic, you got nobody paying attention to you. The fact that they leaked it on Friday night tells you they know. This isn't a Michael Scott lack of self-awareness. They know that this is a bad hire. They know that it's an uninspired hire. They know that this is something that isn't calculated toward getting back to the NFC Championship for the first time since 1995. And as of Sunday, when the Commanders go back for the first time since 1991, the Cowboys will officially be the cheese that stands alone. 16 franchises in the NFC. 15 of them have been to the NFC Championship since 1995. One has not. Congratulations, Jerry. If that's interesting, your team is very interesting. Stick around all weekend long and into next week. You never know when there's going to be another move that prompts another special edition of PFTPM. If all else fails, we'll be back Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern for PFT Live and around-the-clock updates at ProFootballTalk.com. Have a great weekend. I'm going back to